Birthdays have always been the day I look forward to most every year, not because of expensive gifts or lavish parties, but because it's the one day I can be the one receiving, instead of always having to worry about and take care of everyone else. However, this year, I didn't get what I expected. My husband, who always claims to love me, made me wonder, did I ask for too much? Or does he simply not understand the significance of this day to me? Birthdays have always been one of my most anticipated occasions. To me, it's not just a simple anniversary, but a day to relax, be loved, and receive the attention I always give to others. I'm the one who plans everything for the family, from birthday parties for the kids to small trips for the family. I'm always the one behind the scenes, making sure everything runs smoothly and joyfully. But this year, nothing went as I had imagined. I love holidays, especially birthdays, because it's the one day a year when I can hope to be the one receiving, rather than always being the one taking care of everything. My family knows this well. I had prepared for a day full of joy, and I only asked for simple things. A day where I didn't have to worry about the kids or housework. A chance to rest, and if possible, a nice meal, a cake, and small gifts from the kids. My husband, the person I trust and love, was the one I thought would understand and make my birthday special. But when my birthday arrived, everything didn't turn out as I expected. My husband started saying that he was tired and had a sore throat. I checked his throat, and although he seemed a little uncomfortable, there were no signs of fever or a cold. He could still talk normally, and even spent an hour playing video games without any issue with his voice. I began to wonder if he was really sick or just trying to avoid responsibility. I kept telling myself that maybe he was just tired from staying up late playing games, but then it started bothering me. My birthday, the day I had been looking forward to all year, was being pushed aside. While I had to continue doing everything from taking care of the kids to making my own cake, he slept all day. This only made me feel unimportant, as though everything revolved around him and no one cared about what I wanted. I couldn't be patient anymore. I wondered why my husband couldn't help me for just one day. Why couldn't he see that I needed something, just a little attention, a birthday wish, or a small gesture to make me feel special? I had spent the whole day preparing for the family, but now I had to do everything on my own. I decided not to wait anymore. I decided to drive to my parents' house, bringing the cake I made with the kids, and tonight, I would have dinner with my family. I no longer wanted to stay at home with a husband who never understood what I needed. I left without saying a word to him, and deep inside I felt frustrated and disappointed, not because he couldn't do the things I asked, but because I felt like I no longer mattered to him. As I drove to my parents' house, I was filled with anger and disappointment. I didn't tell my husband I was leaving because I no longer wanted to hear his excuses or apologies. He had ruined everything I had been looking forward to. Sitting in the cold car, I wondered if I had been too harsh on him. Were my expectations really too much? But then I thought back to the times before when he just sat in the game room while I took care of everything for the family. He never showed me any interest, even on special occasions like my birthday. I felt truly exhausted. When I arrived at my parents' house, I felt a bit relieved, but the sadness still lingered. We ate dinner together, and I tried to engage in conversation, but my mind kept returning to my husband. Did he really understand how I was feeling? Did he realize that I had waited so long for his attention on this special day? Why was it so hard for him to fulfill such simple requests? Soon after, my phone rang. It was a call from my husband. I looked at the screen for a moment and decided not to answer. I knew if I picked up, I wouldn't be able to keep my composure. He would likely tell me I was overreacting, that he needed rest, that I shouldn't expect too much on a birthday after turning 21. Those words echoed in my mind. Eventually, I decided to answer, not to hear him apologize or explain, but to tell him how tired I was. I told him he had ruined my birthday, and that I couldn't continue staying at home with someone who didn't understand my feelings. He stayed silent for a long moment, and I could sense his surprise in his voice. Then he responded, sounding a bit impatient, "You're overreacting. Birthdays aren't that important anymore. I'm not feeling well either." At that moment, I felt something inside me snap. It wasn't because he didn't say the sweet words or do something to surprise me, but because he couldn't understand that I, too, needed care and love. I wasn't just the person who always took care of others. I needed to feel cared for by the one I had devoted my life to. I hung up the phone. I knew he would call again, maybe to apologize or explain, but right then, I just needed a little peace to think. Every time something like this happened, I wondered if I was expecting too much from him. But then I thought about all the times I had done everything myself, and I asked myself if he would ever truly understand how much he had hurt me. After hanging up, I felt a wave of anger surge within me, but there was also a part of me that truly ached. Had I ever felt this way before? How many times had I sacrificed my desires to please those around me, and this time, on my birthday, the one day to feel important, it had been ruined so easily? My husband had not only forgotten an important day for me, but also made me feel unworthy of being cherished. While I tried to calm myself and continue dinner with my family, his words kept echoing in my head. "You're overreacting. Birthdays aren't that important." Those words made me feel like I was just an ordinary woman, a wife who didn't deserve special attention. I could feel the discouragement and disappointment rising inside me. I had tried to understand and sympathize with him for so long, but today I just couldn't understand him anymore. Dinner with my parents was fairly quiet, but the absence of my husband and the frustration inside me made everything feel bland. When the kids asked why Dad didn't come, I could only force a smile and tell them he wasn't feeling well. The whole night, I tried to hold back my emotions, but I knew I couldn't keep them inside for long. I couldn't continue being the one always taking care of everything, the one who always gives without ever receiving anything in return. When we got home, I didn't rush to bed or fall asleep like usual. I sat alone in the living room, the dim light casting a lonely glow. My husband still hadn't returned, and I didn't know what to do. Maybe I had placed too much expectation on him. Maybe birthdays didn't really matter to him, and I had wasted my emotions on someone who didn't understand. But was I wrong for wanting just a little attention on such a special day? Finally, I decided to call him one more time. I knew this call wouldn't solve anything, but at least I needed to make my feelings clear. "You couldn't do anything for me today. At least you could have said happy birthday or asked how I felt." I tried to keep my composure, but when I said those words, I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer. He didn't say anything for a while, then just sighed. "I know you're disappointed, but I really don't feel well. I don't know what to do to make you happy, and I don't know how to make you feel cared for." At that moment, I just hung up again with no more words to say. After hanging up, I felt an empty feeling. This call had given me nothing but more disappointment. But I knew I had to face the truth. Maybe he didn't understand how I felt, didn't realize why birthdays meant so much to me, but was it possible that he didn't care about me at all? These questions kept swirling in my head all night, making it impossible to sleep. The next day, I didn't call him, didn't text, didn't answer when he called. I needed some space to think, a quiet moment to reflect on everything. I didn't know if I was overreacting, but what I was sure of was that I was so tired. Tired of always being the giver with no return. Tired of always being the one who understands and forgives, while all I wanted was a little care. A birthday wish on such a special day. My husband perhaps had gotten so used to me always being there for him, taking care of the kids, handling everything for the family. He didn't think I needed to be loved and cared for the way he did. Last night he said he didn't know what to do to make me happy, but I wondered, why couldn't he see that I was trying to live a meaningful life too, and that I too deserved to experience something good, even if just for one day? That was when I decided I needed to talk to him again, but not right away. I didn't want to continue being upset, but I couldn't pretend that nothing had happened either. A few days later, when I felt calm enough, I started the conversation that I knew wouldn't be easy. When my husband came home that evening, I didn't avoid him or stay silent. I looked at him and said, "We need to talk. Do you know that you ruined my birthday?" He looked at me, surprised, as though he didn't understand why I felt that way. "I already told you, you're overreacting. You know I wasn't feeling well." But this time, I wouldn't let myself fall into the trap of excuses. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "You might not have felt well, but I didn't either. I've been tired of doing everything alone. I just wanted one day for you to care for me, just like I always care for you." I could see him lower his head, and I realized he might never have truly understood this before. He stayed silent for a moment, then he spoke. "I really didn't know you felt this way. I'm sorry. I will do everything I can to make you feel loved." I felt a small relief, but my heart still wasn't completely at peace. Would he really change? Or was this just a quick apology in the moment? After talking to him, I didn't feel entirely satisfied. Although he apologized and said he would do everything he could to make me feel loved, I still couldn't immediately forget the feeling of being abandoned on my birthday. I wondered if his promise truly came from his heart or if it was just a clumsy apology to avoid conflict. That lingering doubt haunted me, but I didn't say anything more. Time would tell. In the following days, I noticed changes. My husband became more proactive in helping me. He took responsibility for the kids and even helped with the household chores I usually did alone. Though I still held on to some doubts, at least he was beginning to show more care. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about whether he could keep these changes up for the long term. By October, my life took an unexpected turn. One morning, I got surprising news from the doctor. I was pregnant. Honestly, I didn't think I could get pregnant after years of trying and undergoing fertility treatments. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw the test results. It was a mix of emotions, both joy and worry. I wasn't prepared for this, especially with my health not being stable. My pregnancy was classified as high risk, and I had to be very cautious. When I shared this news with my husband, he was overjoyed, but I also noticed the concern in his eyes. Our lives were already challenging with our son and his health issues. And now, with a new baby on the way, we faced yet another challenge. However, I could feel a difference in the way he handled this news. He wasn't just happy, he was especially caring toward me. He became more involved in taking care of me, helping me rest, and doing tasks that I used to handle alone. These actions made me begin to believe that maybe he had changed, at least in terms of showing love and care. However, I still couldn't forget the feeling of being abandoned on my birthday. Every time I saw my husband spending time with me, I wondered if he truly understood the importance of caring for me on my special days. But I also realized that we couldn't change the past, only learn from it and move forward. On my birthday this year, everything was different. My husband not only remembered the day, but he also took the initiative to plan a romantic evening. He made my favorite dinner, a delicious meal with steak, lobster tail, Brussels sprouts, and my favorite dessert. The thing that surprised me the most was that he was the first to wish me a happy birthday right at midnight. I felt truly touched, and even though I couldn't forget the past, this time, I started to believe in his promise. Maybe he really had understood me.